Okay, good morning, everyone. My baptism of fire. This presentation really comes from the guru of reading. Of course, our USEC, Dr. Hermosa, and of course, Dr. Santos. We had been doing, since we became teacher, our Bible is our curriculum guide and our lesson plan, right? Based on your experience, are the competencies in the curriculum guides are the same or exactly the same in terms of statement in our objectives? Are they the same? Or do you directly copy what is stated in the curriculum guide to your objectives in the lesson plan? Any? Sir?
Broad, we have to subtask.
Okay.
It depends on the objective that is to be copied in the curriculum guide. If it is broad, the teacher must subtask the the objective po, ma'am. I-subtask the objective.
Thank you. So we will deeply study what's the difference between, or what is an objective, or what is a goal, and what are the differences between a goal and an objective. Okay. So in this session, we will try to explore and differentiate what is between goals and objectives. And we'll try to give examples of objectives and we'll try to formulate stated objectives. That's why we require you to bring the big books that you have received from USAID. Okay. What are goals? These are broad statements of purpose. It's general in nature. And of course, it's a long-term wish or desired. And of course, because this is long-term, it is expressed not necessarily in behavioral terms. Okay, here are examples of goals. To develop genuine love for reading. To instill love of country. To appreciate Philippine literature. Nababasa ang usapan, tula, talata, kwento na may tamang bilis, diin, tono, antala at ekspresyon. Can you do that in one setting? Or it's too broad? Therefore, that is a goal. And this is what Sir Jimmy is telling us a while ago, that if we could see this, because this is a goal, what do? We need to subtask them. Because you cannot talk about tula, talata, kwento. You need to choose one. Okay? So, if that's the case, that's a goal. What is an objective? It's precisely defined statements of intent or desired short-term outcomes of instruction expressed in behavioral terms. Very specific and attainable. Okay? Specify what the learners ought to get from the lesson, not what the teacher. This is our common errors. Sometimes we think of ourselves when we formulate objectives. Ito yung gusto ko, yun ba ang gusto ng bata? Ito yung kaya kong gawin, yun ba ang kaya ng bata? Those are the questions that we need to ask. Enable the teachers to focus effort, measure success, and work toward corrections of problems and improvement of teaching. Okay? The objectives, therefore, will help us, give us the directions to our teaching and learning situations. Some of the teachers would say, I met some of the teachers before when I was still in the field. Ay ma'am, alam ko na paano magturo. Kahit wala akong lesson plan, kaya ko yun. Kaya ko yun magturo. Pwede ba yung ganon? Can we do that? Wala tayong direksyon. You face the students without any direction. Ay, ang principal talaga. Of course, there are instances wherein principals ask too much of the teachers, di ba? But you cannot face the students without objectives. Let's proceed. Okay. Examples of objectives. To compare the traits of tic-tac-toe and pick-back. Specific ba? What are we requiring? Huh? They are to compare. Very specific. And whom will they compare? Tic-tac-toe and pick-pack-boom. Kaya they cannot compare rows S and rows P because what is required is tic-tac-toe and pick-pack-boom. To distinguish fact from opinion. Very specific. The third one is, or in Tagalog, na ibibigay ang paksa ng napakinggang tula. Okay? Very specific. Next, please. Okay. Is this a goal or an objective? We talk about goals. We know that goals are long-term and does not necessarily expressed in behavioral terms, while objectives are specific. Now, let us differentiate. Number one, respect goal. Ay, ang talino. Clap your hands. You deserve a clap for that. Next, to describe the fury of the forest fire. Objectives. Next. Next. To justify the killing of the whales. Sige, to justify the killing of the whale. What is the behavioral term? Justify. Is it specific? Yes. Specific or not? Yes. Justify the killing of? Yes. Okay. Goal or objective? Ha? Again? Objective. Ay, meron pa akong narinig na goal. Okay. Let us look. What is the behavioral term? Justify. Okay. Justify the killing of what? Whales. Goals, objectives. Goal or objective? Objective. Next, please. To develop a deep sense of responsibility. Again? Okay. Next. To instill love for nature. Yung iba, goals. What is that? A goal or an object? Okay. To characterize the protagonist. Objective. And the last one? Objectives. Wow, ang galing na ninyo. Hindi na ako magse-session. Okay, next please. Okay. What are the significance of goal and objectives? Goals clarify our educational intention. So it's really broad. They serve as umbrella for a number of specific objectives. They are long-term. They give directions to objectives. So you must have first your goal, then specify it with objectives. Objectives enable us to focus our efforts, measure our success, and work towards the correction of problems and improvement of teaching. Yes, if our goal is for the students to learn, to be able to identify, to be able to characterize, we should also have within us as a teacher, we also have to have our own objectives. What if the students will not be able to achieve our stated objectives? What shall we do? Okay, and if this is our objectives, what are the activities that I need to do for the students to develop these objectives? It will set our directions. That is why this is very important. because this will guide our teachers. And I don't know if you agree with me that there are instances and there are teachers who find it very difficult to formulate objectives. Thus, it is a must that we as instructional leaders should have the knowledge and skills in doing this to be able to give assistance to our teachers. Especially so that this is a training of trainers and you ought to give them what they deserved. Okay, next please. How can objectives help us? Okay, concern for learners. They help us, they direct us on what to do inside the classroom. In teaching, they'll give us the idea on what activities, on what materials, and on what and when is the specific time to use, to introduce, and to engage our students in the activity, in assessing learning. If you don't have objectives, what will you assess? If you don't have purpose, what will you assess? Okay? And the last one is in creating the learning environment. Your objective is for the students to appreciate the story or the poem. To create that environment, you know, as a teacher, you're one of the environments. How will they appreciate if you tell the story? Okay, once upon a time, there lived a beautiful, okay? How will they appreciate? You've listened to Teacher Portia yesterday, to Dr. Pado the other day. And you know, and tonight, you will also be exposed to storytelling. Okay? Next, please. Types of objectives: expressive and instructional. I must admit that when I was a teacher, I don't know that there is an expressive objectives. Salamat sa aking mentor, Teacher Dina, Dr. Pado, Dr. Hermosa, that there is an expressive objectives. Tayo, instructional. Di ba? Skill focus. Kayo, alam ba ninyo na merong expressive objectives? Ha? Bago ko lang ito nalaman. Meron palang expressive objectives. Precisely. When I learned about expressive objectives, I thought, dapat noon ko pa ito nalaman. Kasi precisely, literature, yung mga stories, they were written with purpose. Di ba? They have a purpose. It's not only for skills development. Appreciating the story. Feeling, expressing what the authors felt, okay, when writing the story. Okay, so what then is an expressive objectives? Sige, let's see. Sige, ma'am. Okay, expressive objectives are evocative, suggestive, rather than prescriptive. Identify the problem the learner is expected to cope with, the task she is to engage in, a certain attitude to take, a human value to imbibe, an insights to be realized, an emotion to be experienced, a phenomenon to be valued, or an aspect of craftsmanship to be appreciated. Bingo! We are already doing this, but we don't know that that is an expressive objectives, right? In our teaching, we ask our students to appreciate. We ask our students to talk about the values that they've learned from the story, from the poem that they have read or they listened to. But we don't know that that is expressive objectives. We just categorize it as an objective. Okay. Next, please. Expressive objectives do not specify the behavior the learners is expected to acquire or demonstrate after instruction. Thus, may not be stated in behavioral terms. Precisely because you cannot measure. Okay? You cannot measure it. Focus on literary or the emotional experience. What have they felt? What they have experienced while listening, while reading the story. Okay. Example of an expressive objective. To realize that love conquers all. And that is an insight. To appreciate the beauty and wonders of nature. Phenomenon. To feel the grief of victim's family. Emotion. The talk about emotion. To understand respect for others' right. That's human value. Okay? To appreciate aspects of humor in the story. Craftsmanship. To respond to the story through a specific activity. This one is very famous to us, right? Dramatize the story, act out the story. Expressive objectives aim to help students arrive at their own interpretation of the selection and to gain the intended insights or message or theme of the selection and or an emotional response to it. As I've said, stories are written with a purpose. The author has his own purpose in writing that story. And to talk about that, we are talking about developing expressive objectives. Okay, next please. Okay, like all objectives, it will be best if it is immediately clear how this interpretation, insights, emotional response will be demonstrated by the learner. Because it is an objective, it has to be specific. You should be able to tell the students how they'll be able to express all this that you wanted them to develop. Okay. Okay. So, this is the guide. So, reading the selection, identify the feeling. So, while they are reading, they have to identify the feeling. Yes. We are doing that, ma'am, no? Now you realize. But we don't know that that is expressive objectives. Okay. Then, experience. Di pa, ma'am? Okay? What insights did you get from the selection? We have that kind of objectives. Next, how would you like the students to express their emotional experience and insights? You have to be very specific. How will you express that? Dramatize, act out? Okay? Okay. So if that's the case, sige ma'am. Okay. So these are the process and the outcome is, okay, if these are the process to express the enjoyment, repetitive text, so how will you express your objectives? To express enjoyment through their familiarity with the plot and the repetitive lines used in the story. See? This is what you want the students to get. You want them to express their feelings and of course using the repetitive text. So that is how we should be able to express, to state our expressive objectives. And this. Yes, Mama! I love that.
So, singit ako kasi ako nagsulat nito. Yung 3 levels na yan, kasi umaabot tayo palagi sa to express enjoyment, di ba? To show that you like the story, di ba? And to appreciate the story. But it is very rare that we actually hit the level where you tell children to explain why. And the explanation of why is the develop of critical and creative thinking. So, kailangan tumuhog talaga siya. Usually, nandito lang tayo. Pag nag-observe ako ng klase kung saan-saan, ito nakikita ko yung dalawa sa ibabaw. No? Tapos yung explanation from the children why they actually enjoy or why they don't like a particular character, why they want to go to that place, 'di ba? Bakit nila gusto sumakay sa magic banig, 'di ba? Bakit sila naaawa sa nanay na papel de liha ang kamay? 'Di ba? Anong gagawin nila para kay Chenilyn na may sakit? 'Di ba? Yung levels na yon kailangan kasi umabot sa justification. Why do you feel that way? Diba? And even for living life every day, that's a good thing, 'di ba? Alam nga namang masaya ka, hindi mo alam kung bakit. Or galit ka, hindi mo alam kung bakit. Lalo naman yon, di ba? Medyo scary yon. So, it's good to be able to help children understand their emotions through stories from the very beginning. Okay, sir?
Okay. 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 Yes. So in the K-POPs, it's the highest. No, you apply. Okay. So in other words, thank you, ma'am, for that insight. So we should not stop from just expressing. Meaning to say we should go beyond. Okay. And of course, the higher level. Okay. Instructional objectives. Okay? Instructional objectives focus on skill development. Parang expert tayo dito. They are stated in behavioral terms. They are SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Okay. Instructional objectives focus on skills development. Example, to predict possible outcomes of the story. Okay? Skill. Predicting is a skill. To identify the traits of the main character of the story. Identifying the character is a skill. These are comprehension skills. Okay. Wanted objectives. Ang galing ng title ni Miss Ann. Wanted objectives. Okay, let's have an activity. Write 2 instructional and 3 expressive objectives for the selection. After learning the definition, the meaning of expressive and instructional objectives, let's try to make 2 objectives. 2 for instructional and 2 for expressive. Go!